on the Rubin Report.
It's low, it's beneath the United States.
Doesn't really sound like someone who believes in America. These people support the progressive. They support Ilhan. They support Rashida Tlaib.
And I'm also going to say it, a bit of racism.
Ooh, lady, she's edgy. Hello, I'm Dave Rubin. This is the Rubin Report. It is March 17th, 2026. We are live on Rumble, on Locals, and on YouTube. Share, subscribe, tap that notification bell. Obviously doing a bit of Iran recap. It sounds like we're making a move on Cuba. We're going to do a little AI stuff, little woke nonsense. But before we get into any of that, I do want to mention that yesterday we did kind of, I guess, an autopsy of the influencer wars, particularly the right-wing influencer wars, right? Like, it's very easy to smack down the lefties of MSNBC and CNN and all the usual wokesters and progressives. Like, we can do that. It's low-hanging fruit. It is what it is. You guys get it. And yesterday we had to dive into the Megyn Kelly, Candace, Ben, Mark Levin thing and blah, blah, blah. It was just like, bleh. I did kind of just get it out of my system. We're not doing any of it today. But I do want to say that I jumped in comments across platforms yesterday, a little more than I normally do. I'm always checking and seeing what the locals people are saying. But I did jump in on the Rumble chat. I jumped in on the YouTube chat. And I just want to say thank you for watching the show, and we're paying attention to what you say. And I said to the guys yesterday afternoon, what we're building here by doing the show a certain way and holding ourselves to a certain standard amidst all of this, I really do think is the solution for what's going on politically and culturally in the country right now. Like, everyone, every which way is trying to burn everything down. And I saw so many comments from you guys just appreciative of how I'm trying to deal with this stuff and stay a little bit above it, and that it is making you sane. And I see a lot of people saying things like, you can't take much more of the political thing. It's driving everybody crazy, but then you come here and you feel better about it, and it helps you engage with your family and your friends and all those things. So I'm just very, I'm honored that you're here. How about that? So let's dive in. And what I promised today to you is a primo show. So let's just get to it. Marco Rubio, who, the guy's star is rising. Everyone sees it. Hyper competent, communicates clearly, has been in government for years, but actually doing things. Once an opponent, 8 years ago of Donald Trump. Now Trump's maybe his main guy, perhaps outside of JD. We don't even have to get into the back and forth between Marco and JD. Like, this guy is just, his entire life led him to be Secretary of State of the United States. He's doing a bang up job. He's very excited about what might happen with Cuba, which is obviously near and dear to his heart. But here he is yesterday in an interview talking about radical Islam and the fight that we really are facing right now.
Ultimately, all radical Islamic movements in the world identify the West writ large, but the United States in particular, as the greatest evil on the earth. And every chance to have the notion that somehow radical Islam would be comfortable with simply controlling some province in Iraq or Syria is just not borne out by history. Radical Islam has shown that their desire is not simply to occupy one part of the world and be happy with their own little caliphate. They want to expand. It's revolutionary in its nature. It seeks to expand and control more territories and more people. And radical Islam has designs openly on the West, on the United States, on Europe. We've seen that progress there as well. And they are prepared to conduct acts of terrorism. In the case of Iran, nation-state actions, assassinations, murders, you name it, whatever it takes for them to gain their influence and ultimately their domination of different cultures and societies.
Thank you, Marco, for proving my point. What you have right there is a guy who can absolutely clearly communicate what's going on, who can tell you who the enemy is, what their intentions are. He clearly, over the last 2 weeks, has been laying out what we are doing with Iran, which continues to go extremely well, despite what some sort of, some version of internet crazy people are screaming about. It is going extremely well. We'll have more on that in just a little bit. But he correctly points out that radical Islam, there are 57 Muslim nations, 57 Muslim nations. And in those nations, they are largely nations of apartheid, where there are rules for certain people and different rules for certain people. It's not going particularly well for minorities, religious minorities, or any other type of minority that might exist. But then the issue is, and I'm for you want to have your own country and have your identity, and if it happens to be attached to a religion or a culture, I think that's just fine. The issue is there's 57 of those countries, and then these people are exporting these ideas into Western nations, say the UK, say France, say Belgium, say some of the things we've covered here like Dearborn, and want to take over other nations as well. So Rubio correctly points out, if you think that these guys just want this little spot of land over here and they can run it however they want, sure, they'll oppress the women and they'll kill the gays and they'll make sure no Christians or Jews live there or whatever. If we just leave them alone, everything will be fine. His point is, no, it's an expansionist ideology. And in some sense, what we are doing with Iran right now, I think we're doing a lot of things. I've been talking about how much of it I think has to do with China, and I think we'll find out more about that over the next couple of weeks. But we're doing a lot of things, but one of the things we're really doing is decapitating the snake right now. The head of the sort of terror network that radical Islamists use, the financing, was going through Iran, and we are getting rid of that. Now, the one thing that seems a little iffy at the moment is what's going on with the Strait of Hormuz, which is a tiny little area that huge amounts of oil goes through, trade and shipping, and it is a very important part that borders Iran, also borders the UAE and a couple of the other Gulf nations. I think we're going to throw a map up in just a second in case you're not fully playing along. Looks like a little bit of an elbow over there. Here is Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi saying that the Strait of Hormuz is open, it's only closed to our enemies. Little unclear who he considers his enemies, but take a look.
Is there any sign that Iran is prepared to allow passage of the Straits of Hormuz? Will the Straits of Hormuz remain closed so long as this war continues?
Well, as a matter of fact, the Strait of Hormuz is open. It is only closed to the tankers and ships belong to our enemies, to those who are attacking us and their allies. Others are free to pass.
All right, so this is spectacular doublespeak, and as the that host, whatever that guy's name is on MS Now, as he glazes him, it's very exciting. We have the Iranian foreign minister here, as if he's going to tell you anything true. So what he says is it's open except to our enemies. Well, who are their enemies? They have now, obviously, the United States, big Satan enemy, Israel, little Satan enemy. They've fired rockets at 13 other nations in that area. Do we have the map? I think we have a map. Yeah. So you can see the United Arab Emirates are right there. Oman is right there. Riyadh, that's obviously Saudi Arabia. They've got Kuwait, Iran. If you go the other way, then you have Pakistan. They're not going in the other direction. But you can see they're firing all the rockets that direction. And, would you consider those guys enemies? So can none of them get through? But either way, the Iranian foreign minister, sorry, buddy, Abbas, it's not going to be up to you. If the United States wants to keep the Strait of Hormuz open, which it does, and Donald Trump said we'll escort ships through if we have to, it's going to stay open. How do we know? Because in 2 weeks of this thing, we've gotten rid of their Navy. We have complete control of their airspace. They have no military left. Their ballistic missile, I think Israel announced yesterday, their ballistic missile program is completely destroyed. So they were basically creating about 100 ballistic missiles a month, zero now. So the outgoing rockets are basically going to end. Oh, and we just took out their de facto leader this morning. Headline from the New York Times, Iran war updates. Israel says it has killed Iran's de facto leader, Ali Larijani. Iran's top security official was killed overnight in a strike. The Israeli military said his death would deal another severe blow to Iran's power structure. That sucks for the guys over at MSNBC. They're going to have to cancel all his appearances. Here's a bit more from NBC on what's going on. U.S. allies and rivals responded cautiously after President Donald Trump said they should police the Strait of Hormuz as Iranian threats to strike shipping on the vital trade route continue to cause chaos in global markets. Many countries, especially those who are affected by Iran's attempted closure of the Hormuz Strait, will be sending warships to secure the shipping route, he posted on Saturday on Truth Social, listing China, France, Japan, South Korea, and the UK and others among the nations he hoped would provide support. The U.S. will also coordinate with those countries so that everything goes quickly, smoothly, and well. This should have always been a team effort, and now it will be, he added in a subsequent post. So that's Trump basically saying, hey, some other countries are going to help us keep this thing open, whether Iran likes it or not. But even if they don't, Even if they don't, congratulations, we are going to keep this thing open. How do we know that? Well, here's Fox reporting that the Pentagon is now sending 5,000 sailors and Marines to help do just that.
The U.S. military is deploying additional assets to the Middle East as the concerns rise over accessibility through the Strait of Hormuz. Today, President Trump said the U.S. has the strategic waterway in, quote, very good shape.
The Pentagon is now sending 5,000 sailors and Marines based in Japan with an amphibious assault ship, USS Tripoli. But it will take at least 10 more days to arrive. It brings additional aircraft to strike targets inland and going after Iranian small boats.
So allow me to make a prediction here in my prediction stuff. I'm not Polly Market, I'm not Kalshi, but I'm pretty good at predictions. And my prediction here is that everything that the media is now going to say about Iran's going to close the Strait of Hormuz and energy prices are going to go crazy and all these, none of this is going to come to pass. That isn't to say there won't be a little bumps here and there in the market, and it's not to say one random thing, bad thing might happen to a ship or something like that. But Iran has basically, their military has basically been decimated. So they can keep doing PR stunts and having the second general of the 4th Command of the 3rd Wing of the Iranian army show up on MSNBC. They can keep do that and make his threats and say, we're going to let things through if we like you and not if we don't. But it just is utterly irrelevant. We are the sheriff. And I know a certain amount of people don't like that. They don't really like America. They don't like American power. They don't like when we exert American power. And tough, I would say. By the way, they're giving me some numbers right now. So in terms of missiles that have been going out of Iran, in the opening days of the war, there were about 300 to 400 missiles going out, mostly going to Israel, but going to all over there are these 13 nations, as I've mentioned. Then a few days after the original salvo, it went down to 50 to 100. By week 2, it was 30 to 50. Now it's 5 to 20. And they, as I said earlier, they have no more ballistic missiles. So they can shoot all sorts of different things, but it's the ballistic missiles that are the problem. It's a 95% decline in 2 weeks. So again, for all of the yapping people that are screaming about Donald Trump got us into war, Donald Trump said he was going to stop the forever wars. And that's what he's doing right now. We're 2 weeks into a war to stop the forever wars, to decapitate the terror machine that is tormenting all of these other countries. Remember, he is literally right now, no, he's figuratively done it, although there might be a literal part of this. He has figuratively redrawn the map of the Middle East because all of these countries that have Iran sitting there firing rockets are suddenly like, well, Iran's probably not our friend. And Lebanon's suddenly like, let's get Hezbollah out and run our country again, right? And oh, Israel, they're actually defending us right now. So the figurative map is being redrawn, and there might be some redrawings of the literal map as well, but let's put that down for now. Let's jump over to The View. Why, I'm not sure, but here's noted racist Sonny Hostin pushing the just endless lie that Trump doesn't know what he's doing, there was no plan, and gas prices are gonna go bananas.
The break, we were talking at the break, and I said, I can't believe that the president didn't know that Iran's response to this would be to close the Strait of Hormuz and not allow tankers in, and now our energy prices are going off the rails, $8 a gas.
Yeah, very predictable.
And your response was?
He was advised, I think, by Dan Kane, but anyone who knows
head
history,
of the Joint Chief of Staffs.
Absolutely. Anyone who knows history would know, of course, they're going to close the Straits of Hormuz.
Okay, there's so much stupidity there. Sometimes we should keep the audio on when these clips are playing so we can get what I'm thinking on the fly. First off, okay, lady, Sonny, they didn't discuss it. They've plotted this war, this extraordinary war that will be studied for decades, right? For decades, they will study how this incredible war took place, that they completely decapitated the military leadership, took over the airspace, got rid of it, all of this stuff, right? But they just didn't think about the Hormuz situation. It's just complete and utter nonsense. They obviously did. Then, of course, she says that gas is $8 a gallon. Joseph at the computer over here, that is not true. Gas nowhere in the United States of America is $8 a gallon. I would recommend if some of you are at a computer right now, Google it yourself, or later today, go to a gas station. And if you're paying $8 a gallon, something ain't right. Gas right now, actually, it's $3.86 average price per gallon right now, which is true. What is true is that it is up a small amount. It is up 35 cents since last week. And as I said, there are little bumps here. Nobody wants those little bumps, and it will go down again. And also, as I've said from the beginning, you might want to think about, why did we go in to Venezuela and get Maduro out? Now we have some of that oil too. It's keeping the markets somewhat stable. But they want you to think that not only does Donald Trump there was no plan, greatest military decapitation in a short time in probably world history, but there was no plan, and there's no plan going forward. It's completely absurd. She lied. Like, why didn't they, ABC, give her a note during the break? Sonny, you're an idiot. You made up that $8 thing. Why doesn't anyone say that? Anyway, here's a woman who got fired from MSNBC. We got to limit the clips on her. If we're bludgeoning these people with The View, let's not do this again. I promise you we'll never do this again. A View back-to-back with Joy Reid. But she's got a podcast now. Congratulations, Joyless. And here she is basically saying that America is worse than Iran.
Our regime has secret police. They have secret police. Our regime is oppressing women, taking away abortion rights, taking away women's rights in like 26 states, some states where they're trying to have the death penalty for having an abortion. They also oppress women. They have the highest rate of women who are in STEM careers. We're kicking women out of the military, out of university. We're saying that DEI means women can't be hired for high positions in the sciences. We're marginally better. And we're doing it for Christianity, they're doing it for Islam, right? Yeah. So it's like, we don't get told those things because it would take away the kind of American exceptionalism narrative.
Lady, they force their women to live in bags. I'd like to put you in a bag, but it's not my right to do it, despite living in this very scary Christian nation. I can't force you to do that. Women have all the rights that men have. There are no rights that women don't have. And if there were, I would be all for it. I believe in individual rights and autonomy and equality. And the endless obsession with abortion over these people. Like, she's just like, I just want to kill more babies, and they've been trying to stop us here in the United States. It's just so completely absurd. It's everything, that thin veneer of progressives, of tolerance, diversity, and everything. And then you peel it off, and it's not only so nasty, it's like, lady, aren't you supposed to care about women? So how about Joy Reid? I offer you a challenge, Joy Reid. How about on your little podcast tomorrow, play a couple videos of the women that are quite literally ripping off the burqas, ripping off the masks, that are able to show their skin, that are able to breathe, right? Like, how about that? But you won't do that. But you know what? In lieu of any more of my commentary about Joy Reid, this is a U.S. soldier. Do we know this guy's name? I think it says his TikTok handle on there. But I keep seeing this guy pop up. He's just fantastic. I would say this qualifies as a probably better version of any way I could retort to Miss Reid.
Hey, I don't know who need to hear this. You know what I'm saying? I see a lot of people be talking about America. Hey, if you don't like America, go to another country, bitch. I love this country. I'll protect this bitch.
I love this country. I'll protect this bitch. I don't know if that guy wants to do media. He's big on TikTok, but I'd love to have him on the show, and that's what it's all about. Like, love this country, Joy. You want to complain about things, that's fine. You want to angle things, you have a different view of the world that I do. You want to, within the confines of our legal system, you want to angle things a little more to the world that you want, okay, fine. But to be up there telling us that that America is the Christian version of Iran, thank God. Thank God we live in a Christian nation. Thank God you as a black woman lives in a Christian nation. Thank God that me as a Jew lives in a Christian nation, right? Like, they're not forcing you to do anything, and you throw all the oppressed women under the bus just so that you can, I don't know, tell us that Trump is bad. Like, just completely ridiculous. What his handle is, GMXDre? GMGXDre is his handle. That's Twitter, or that's TikTok, or on the TikTok. So if you're on the TikTok, which is that Chinese spyware, I don't have it on my phone, but anyway, he's on there. We'll try to do more with him. Anyway, it continues because the media doesn't really know what to do right now, the mainstream media, because I think if you were to walk around the offices at CNN and you were to privately talk to Jake Tapper and Wolf Blitzer and Dana Bash and all the other cast of Muppets, that they would privately be like, yeah, this thing's going pretty well. It's pretty impressive what Trump's done here. And Biden got us into a huge mess. And that mess was really laid out by Obama, who gave the mullahs all the money and everything else. But they can't really say that out loud because they have an audience that they've dumbed down to the point where they just think Trump is bad. So Jake Tapper had Pete Buttigieg on. And let's not forget, Pete was the mayor of South Bend, Indiana. And then they were like, oh, you sleep with dudes? Let's make you transportation secretary. He did that for a couple of years. I don't know of anything that he accomplished while doing that. But here he is explaining the Iran war to Tapper.
The Trump administration argues that they needed to take action to take out Iran's nuclear weapons program and Iran's ballistic missile program because when they came into office, the Biden administration, your administration, had done nothing in 4 years to stop Iran from building a nuclear weapon, developing ballistic missiles, funding terrorism around the world. Are they wrong?
Yes, of course they're wrong.
I'm shocked that he said yes. I'm not even going to bother playing you any of his drivel. No, they're not wrong. They're not wrong. The Biden administration allowed for this. The Obama administration sent them tons and tons of money. Where's the video? We can try to grab it for later in the show of Biden and Kamala. Iran, are you going to get a bomb? And what did they say? Don't. Like as if that was going to do anything. Donald Trump says, we'll negotiate. And when we realize you're not negotiating in good faith, we're going to do something about it. And by the way, we're going to be planning to do something about it before then. And for everybody that's like, this just came out of nowhere, we had no idea. Literally for weeks, we were building up our military in that part of the world, right? So it's not as if just like, oh, this came out of nowhere, as certain pundits would like you to believe. But one thing that's happening also is that we have a better administration right now. And Pete Hegseth, who is the head of the Department of War, is not only doing a bang-up job commanding the war and communicating about it, but he's also pointing out that the media just, yeah, we get it. You hate Trump. Just stop freaking lying about everything.
Because you, and I mean specifically you, the press, specifically you, the press corps, because you cheer against Trump so hard, it's like in your DNA and in your blood to cheer against Trump, because you want him not to be successful so bad, you have to cheer against the efficacy of these strikes. You have to hope maybe they weren't effective. Maybe the way the Trump administration has represented them isn't true. So let's take half-truths, spun information, leaked information, and then spin it in every way we can to try to cause doubt and manipulate the public mind over whether or not our brave pilots were successful.
Yeah, he's absolutely right. And you can see the media doing this over and over. In some sense, that's exactly what Sonny was doing. Trump had no plan. Like, there obviously was a plan. And by the way, it is true that 13 U.S. servicemen have died, and that is a tragedy beyond imagination. This war has been going on for about 15 days, and we have completely won the military part of the war. It hasn't got to the sort of Iranian revolution part, and that's going to be the more complex part for sure. But what we have done militarily, again, is an extraordinary success. And instead they want to pin it, they want to play it as if Biden was better or Obama was better and Trump doesn't know what he's doing. It's completely absurd. And I think we have the no video.
What is your message to Hezbollah and its backer, Iran? Don't.
What's the message to Iran?
Don't.
It was very important to send a very clear message to anyone who might seek to take advantage of the conflict in Gaza to threaten our personnel here or anywhere else in the region. Don't do it.
I said no, they said don't. But do you see how just a word doesn't do anything? Don't do it. And then the mullahs were like, well, that lady who doesn't seem particularly bright, she said, don't. Ooh, we're scared. Biden, that guy has a muddled brain. He's eating banana pudding all day. He said, don't. We're not even sure if he knows where he is or what he's talking about. And the rest of the guys, blinking it all down. They were paper tigers, like our own leaders were paper tigers. Donald Trump is an actual lion. Donald Trump shows teeth when he's supposed to show teeth. Donald Trump is the one that's actually doing things. And it's why it's so silly when the anti-war people, the quote-unquote anti-war people think they're better than everybody. I'm anti-war, so I'm better than everybody, right? I just have the most moral position. It's not that moral when, as an anti-war person, you don't do anything as people are oppressed, as the bad guys continue to expand, as they spread terror and have their proxies go across the world. So you can either there's the anti-war sort of libertarian version of it, or you can be what the Democrats became, which is we'll just say words. Oh, if we say words, that has some sort of meaning. Don't, no, stop. And none of it means anything. And the reason they hate Trump is Trump says what he's gonna do and he goes ahead and does it. And this video, this is audio only actually, but Trump was asked about the impacts around what could happen with the war. And I thought his answer here, this is absolute primo, number one, top of the charts Trump. Watch.
About the political impacts of this. I mean, I have to do what's right. You know, political impacts, sure, everybody has concern. I have to do what's right. I can't say that, you know, gee, I don't want to have any impact on oil prices for 3 or 4 weeks or 2 months, and we're going to let Iran have a nuclear weapon and blow up the entire East and beyond, right? Because, you know, they were going to blow up the Middle East. If I didn't terminate the Obama horrible deal, the Iran nuclear deal it's called, if I didn't terminate that in my first term, they would have already had a nuclear weapon and they would have used it immediately upon getting it.
Guys, that answer is perfect. And the reason it's perfect is the question was about the political calculation, right? Are you worried about the politics of going in? What could happen to, in essence, what could happen to you and the Republicans politically? Donald Trump, and I quote, "I have to do what's right." Isn't that what you would want from any leader? Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to always agree with them on what's right. It doesn't necessarily mean that when they say they're going to do what's right, that it's going to work out the way they want it to do. But as I keep saying, Donald Trump at this point deserves our trust. Donald Trump deserves, he's been directionally right about all this stuff for 45 plus years. So maybe he's right about this. And the fact that within that, he says, you know what? And what could happen, the reason I can't worry about what could happen politically is, for 2 or 3 months, gas prices could go up. He's being honest, right? They're up 35 cents, as we just addressed. But he's saying that's the price to pay to make sure that this evil, nihilistic, genocidal regime will not exist anymore. That's the calculation he's made. And then he laid out plans with incredible people like Hegseth and Rubio and all the way down to do this thing basically in 15 days. So let's pause on Iran for a second. We're going to talk about Prolon, and then we'll get to what Trump is. He's already moving on to the next thing. I mean, this guy, he is playing chess at this guy's playing like, do people do cocaine and then play chess? He's doing coked up chess. That's what the guy's doing. We'll talk about Cuba in just a sec. Long work weeks and packed weekends can leave you feeling run down. If you've ever felt like you needed a true reset, not just another quick fix, this is worth paying attention to. Prolon's 5-day fasting mimicking diet works at the cellular level to reset and rejuvenate your body from the inside out, supporting sustained fat loss, lean muscle protection, metabolism, slower aging, and even glowing skin. It's a plant-based nutrition program with soups, snacks, and beverages all designed to keep your body in a fasting state while still nourishing it, triggering cellular rejuvenation and renewal. Developed over decades in collaboration with USC's Longevity Institute and backed by top U.S. medical centers, Prolon is the only nutrition program clinically shown to trigger autophagy in humans, a Nobel-winning prize cellular process that helps remove and recycle damaged cells. It's also been shown to support biological age reduction, and in just 5 days, it can even help reset your relationship with food. No matter the season, when you're craving a real reset, Prolon is the nutrition program that works. It's convenient and delivers benefits that stick with you long after the 5 days are over. Ready for your own reset? For a limited time, Rubin Report listeners get 15% off site-wide plus a $40 bonus gift when you subscribe to the 5-day program. Visit prolonlife.com/Dave. That's PROLONLIFE.com/Dave to claim your 15% discount and your bonus gift. All right, so Trump is going through the file. He's looking around at the world and he's going, where have things really been screwed up and what can I do? And I think he's also looking at a window that could be closing a little more rapidly than he likes, right? He needs to rack up major wins over the next couple months so that the midterms don't go the wrong way, because if they do, he's going to be lame duck. You will see Republicans jumping off the ship. The Democrats will try to impeach him and all of those things. So he's doing as much as he can very quickly. So what did he do? He did Venezuela, took the file, threw it out the window. We got Maduro. We're now working with their energy companies, and there's some good stuff happening. We're dealing with Iran right now. We shall see what happens. And then he's going, all right, what's next? Well, it says Cuba. Let's find out about that. Here's Trump talking to Peter Doocy over on Fox about what is happening with Cuba right now.
When you say Cuba is next, is Cuba, whatever you do with the military there, it seems like something, will that look more like Iran or Venezuela?
Can't tell you that. I can tell you that they're talking to us. It's a failed nation. They have no money, they have no oil, they have no nothing. They have nice land. They have nice landscape. I do believe I'll be having the honor of taking Cuba. That'd be good. That's a big honor.
Taking Cuba.
Taking Cuba in some form, yeah.
Yeah, in some form. Taking Cuba in some form, I don't know, making sure that the communist leadership of Cuba that has completely decimated the country is not going to be in power anymore. And this is something that is very near and dear to many of the people that live right here in Miami, where I am. And he's just saying it. He's saying it. And actually, the questions were all totally good by Doocy. Is this going to be more like Venezuela or Iran? And Trump's like, well, we'll see what's what. I think it's going to be far more. It's much smaller. It's on our half of the world, et cetera, et cetera. Like, it's going to be a lot easier in a certain sense. There isn't going to be we're not going to have to spend 2 weeks blowing apart a Cuban military or anything like that. Like, this thing's going to be fairly easy. But here's Trump talking about how we are talking to Cuba right now about making some sort of deal. Now, the question is, what does the deal mean? Like, is Cuba going to become a state? I don't think so. But is there going to be some sort of way that the communists will head on out and that it will open up Cuba in a much more pro-Western, pro-capitalist way? Take a look.
You're talking to Cuba. What do you want to hear from them, and
Well,
what is that risk for them?
I am holding Cuba. Cuba's a failed nation. Cuba also wants to make a deal, and I think we will pretty soon, or either make a deal or do whatever we have to do. We have a lot of great people that happen to vote for Trump. Not that that matters, but we have a lot of great people from Cuba that were violently and viciously thrown out of the country, and worse, their families were killed. And so we're talking to Cuba, but we're going to do Iran before Cuba.
And again, the guy we're never going to have a president that is more honest or clean or clear about this stuff. Even when he's like, yeah, we're talking to them, we're negotiating, maybe it'll be something else, meaning maybe it'll be militarily. But there's no reason for it to be militarily done if the Cuban government is willing to play ball. And by the way, there are a lot of signs that they are. Listen to this from CBS. This is from this morning. The Cuban government is planning to allow Cuban nationals who live abroad, including in the U.S., to invest in companies on the island, a top government official told NBC News in an interview that aired Monday as the country faces economic collapse and immense pressure from the Trump administration. Cuba is open to having a fluid commercial relationship with the U.S. companies and also with Cubans residing in the U.S. and their descendants, Deputy Prime Minister Oscar Perez Olivia Fraga said in an interview with the outlet. He added that the country is open to not only small investments, but also large investments, particularly in infrastructure. Fraga indicated that the new policy would be announced Monday night. It marks a notable shift for the country, which has had a largely state-controlled economy for decades and heavily restricted residents from starting private businesses until 2021. The policy change comes as Cuba grapples with the collapsing energy grid and bouts of public protest. The Trump administration threatened steep tariffs earlier this year on any country that ships oil to Cuba, choking off the country's access to petroleum and leading to fuel shortages. So this is rather extraordinary. We have had a communist-run country for decades that hundreds of thousands, can we get the numbers? How many Cubans have fled? What are the numbers? How many Cubans have fled Cuba over the last couple of decades that mostly they ended up in Florida, but into America? It's hundreds of thousands of people for sure. But a communist-controlled country that is failing across the board, that suddenly Donald Trump is like, well, maybe we'll have to take military action. Suddenly they're opening up their markets. And suddenly they're like, yeah, got people, Cubans who have left, who don't even live in our country, they can invest. And we'd like to fix our infrastructure because communism doesn't work and we're going to need some outside money. And on top of everything else, they are having massive energy problems right now because we've put on the pressure. And when we put the pressure on, the people then are going to be less happy with the communists in power. Here are residents in Cuba talking about the rolling blackouts that they're suffering from right now, right? This is happening right now.
Imagínense. Entonces no comería esta mañana comida, comería pan otra vez por la tarde, ahora por la noche y todo eso, porque jabones, esto es lo único que tenemos los muchachos hoy en día para distraernos, el dominó. Y pasar el tiempo. Y pasar el tiempo. Sí, porque tenemos hasta los teléfonos apagados. Sin carga. Se puede cargar. Pasar tiempo en familia. Andamos sin teléfono, incomunicados todo, ¿ya? Entonces ya lo que vamos a hacer es estar jugando dominó aquí hasta ver qué se puede hacer.
All right, so rolling blackouts, they can't do much. Their energy system is crippled. The leaders, the communist leaders are suddenly saying, let's take outside investment. Like the Cuba thing is going down. There is every reason to believe that Rubio has wanted this for a long time, but that Trump is on board too, and that we can help that place. We could help rebuild it. It would be good for American companies and it would be good for American companies. It would be good for Cubans that live there and that live here. By the way, it's about 1 million Cubans that have fled the communist regime probably since around the 70s, around Scarface to now, that have helped build America because they're good people who just needed to be unleashed to do good things, and that's not how it works in a communist system. But let's continue with things that are going on in that area of the world. Listen to this truth from Donald Trump. Wow. Venezuela defeated Italy tonight 4-2 in the World Baseball semifinal. They are looking really great. Good things are happening to Venezuela lately. I wonder what this magic is all about. Statehood 51, anyone? So, I mean, we don't have to spend too much time on this one now. But do you see Donald Trump? He's not trying forever wars. He's trying to fix the world. He's trying to end all of the things that went haywire post-World War II. And all the communist regimes and bad guys, basically, all over the world that were running countries that weren't going well. And then we come in and we start doing things. Next thing you know, we'll see what happens. Well, Venezuela's playing the United States. So I have to tell you, I'm rooting against Venezuela tonight. That's right, there you go. And it's in Miami. So we will see. And we've got a lot of Venezuelans here. So there could be some partying in the streets. We've got a lot of Americans here, could be partying in the streets. We've got a lot of Venezuelans that are Americans here. So there's good things happening. That's the point. But okay, Venezuela, Cuba, wrap up the Iran thing. Like Trump could just get win after win after win. You saw them playing dominoes. My sense is that Donald Trump is doing some foreign policy dominoes right now. But let's shift gears altogether. Let's stop talking about international affairs. Let's stop talking about war for just a second. Because the other thing that's going on in the world right now is that we are on this incredible horizon as it relates to AI and how it is so going to fundamentally change us. You know, for those of you, I'm 49 years old, and I remember a world before this thing. My guys that work here, some of them are in their mid-20s, and they barely remember that world. But think how fundamentally different the world because of the iPhone is versus the pre-iPhone world. And we can, we can say it was better, it was worse, or whatever else. The next horizon that is right here, the next frontier that we are en route to blazing is the AI revolution. And here is Elon Musk. There was an AI conference. We're going to play you a couple of videos here. Elon talking about how AI is going to fix so many things so quickly that humans have no idea what's coming. Take a look.
Maybe more likely to be great. And I do think we'll have universal high income. We're basically just issuing money to people, and the really just because the output of goods and services will so far exceed the money supply that that effectively you have deflation, because just deflation is just the ratio of the outputs of goods and services to the money supply. Basically, AI and robots are going to make so much stuff and provide so many services that they will actually run out of things to do for the humans.
Okay, so you really have to think about this. It's a little, it's complex what he's saying there. The output of services will outpace the money supply, meaning that AI and robots and 3D printing and all of these things will be able to build so many things so quickly, so easily, at scale, so cheaply, that will rapidly outpace the actual money supply, which could cause deflation, right? We're always having inflation because we're always spending more than we have because the government's completely inefficient and all of those reasons. But once the AI systems are in place, and yes, I'm not going to do all the dystopian versions of it right now, but once the systems are in place and we have robots doing things and we can 3D print all of these things and you have drones dropping things off, we will be able to build things, quite literally build physical things via digital technology that will outpace the need for money. That's a rather extraordinary way of looking at what the future might bring. Here's Elon with a bit more on what that could do to the world economy.
Okay, this is going to sound pretty crazy.
It's okay. We've been talking about crazy
already. There's a receptive audience to wild prognostications.
Yes.
I'd say the economy is 10 times its current size in 10 years. Greater than.
Okay.
You really saying something.
Yeah, you'd said triple-digit growth in 5+ years from now on GDP, and 10x the economy. But in terms of your ability,
I feel like that's a 10x in roughly 10 years. I feel is actually a fairly comfortable prediction.
All right, so what I like about that is you can sort of see him thinking it through, right? He's pausing, he's thinking, he's looking up, that the economy could be 10 times what it is in 10 years. Why would that be? Well, he just illustrated that once we get further into this next phase of all of these things, the fact that right now, I have 2 Teslas. We have 2 Teslas here. It is so spectacular. It is, when I drive a conventional car now, if we have to rent a car, if we go travel or whatever, they feel so backwards to me. The Tesla is so spectacular. And he's not even going to be he's not making X's and I think S's going forward, because they're going to focus more on robo-taxis, because most people won't even want cars anymore because the robo-taxi will become so ubiquitous, you won't even need it. That's one thing. But also he wants to focus more on building Optimus robots, which supposedly will be out by the end of next year. And again, there's all the dystopian versions. You can look at robotics and all the ways that the Skynet will turn on and the Matrix and all of those things. But we're going to have robots in our house, and how that will change security and how that will change quite literally everything. And the question, you can always be leery of it, as I am leery of it, like I've got like an eyebrow up when it comes to some of these things, but you can't fight City Hall in some sense. You can't stop progress. So I think the challenge for all of us will be actually the same exact challenge that you have with this thing. The challenge is how do you manage a relationship with the robots, with all of the technology that's coming, which is the same thing we're doing with this. How do you manage your relationship with your phone? Do you stare at it while you're at dinner with someone and pay more attention to that world rather than this world? Is that what you do? What do you do when your kids, when you just want a moment's peace? I mean, this is the great challenge for every parent in going forward forever now, which is, if you want a moment's peace at a restaurant, do you just give your kid the iPhone and let them play Roblox? Is that a reference that makes sense? I think that's something. Roblox, that's something. Like, how are we going to manage all of these things? But what he's saying is we are going to do so much so fast, it's going to make, if you think the world in 2026 is different than the world in, say, 2000, when we didn't, pre-iPhone, wait till you see what happens in 10 years from now. Let's just go a little bit further with this, because Sam Altman, who's the CEO at OpenAI, here he is talking about how our access to information is also going to change things.
We see a future where intelligence is a utility like electricity or water, and people buy it from us on a meter and use it for whatever they want to use it for.
Okay, so that's a little dystopian right there, where intelligence is going to be something you purchase, meaning they're going to have these models that are going to be able to explain everything, and that you would have to purchase it the way you purchase water or other utilities. Well, that feels kind of dystopian to me, but I'm just putting it out there that that's the direction the world is going in, right? Like, it's happening whether you like it or not. Now, the question is, how do we make sure we do it maturely with the right people in charge, that it doesn't get infected by bad political ideologies or anything else. And that's what brings us to this, which is Anthropic, which is another one of these models. And it's been working, at least potentially working with the government on a few different things. Here's Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei talking to CBS about how they try to be as neutral as possible when he's asked about left-wing bent, basically infecting the AI models.
President Trump has called Anthropic a left-wing woke company. Is this decision at all driven by ideology?
I can't speak for what, I can't speak for what other parties are doing and what they're doing.
But you and here in Anthropic.
Yeah, look, we, I think, have tried to be very neutral. We speak up on issues of AI policy where we have expertise. We don't have views, we don't think about general political issues, and we try to work together whenever there's common ground.
All right, I said I was trying to avoid the dystopian version of it, but Sam Altman and talking about, intelligence will be, turned on and off, you don't have to pay for it. That's kind of dystopian. This guy strikes me as like 5 years from now, we find out he really is the bad guy in all of this. We'll find out a little bit more. I should note that the Pentagon wanted to use Anthropic's Claude AI for surveillance and autonomous weapons, and Anthropic refused. So that's when Trump said that Anthropic was a supply chain risk, and he blacklisted it from defense use and a whole bunch more. So now OpenAI, which is what Sam Altman is running, is now working with the government. So there's all sorts of ways you could see all this spinning in a million different directions, but it's worth us all knowing a little bit about it right now because it's happening in front of our eyes. So just one more on this. This is Defense Undersecretary Emil Michael talking about how Anthropic threatened to shut off its AI if they didn't like how it was used by the Pentagon. That would be a problem, right? Like you can't have these companies being more powerful than the Pentagon, thus we are not working with them.
We're in the middle of negotiations with all the frontier lab companies to more widely deploy their models across the department for all the various use cases, enterprise, intelligence, warfighting. And then after the Maduro raid, one of the senior executives from Anthropic had called Palantir, who's the prime contractor, and Anthropic's a subcontractor in a contract with the Department of War, and asked if their software was used, which is classified information, and implying that if they didn't like the way it was used in that raid, that we might have a problem and have violated the terms of the contract, which meant that they could shut us off at any time, which was the whoa moment, because then we realized we are dependent on this one provider who wants to insert their policy preferences in the middle of an operation potentially and harm the warfighter. And that was something that we took extremely seriously at the time.
Okay, so I know some of this may feel a little wonky to you or whatever, but this is, I'm telling you guys, this is the next thing. We can always talk about like the immediate stuff. There's a war now, these are the political fights of the day, SAVE Act, et cetera, et cetera. But these types of decisions that are being made right now, these are the things that are going to lead us either to a more peaceful, prosperous future, the one that Elon's talking about, or lead us to the sci-fi dystopian version of it, right? Because if these companies get a political bent, right, a political ideology built into their systems, and then say our military, our Pentagon is using their systems, and then the AI won't let the Pentagon do what it wants to do, or if whatever it might be, whatever system they get into, they're working with Amazon. I'm just making up an example here, but like they're working with Amazon and they don't want certain people of certain political ideologies to get things delivered to their house or whatever it might be. And these are all the great challenges ahead of us. And this is where the government that we should all be leery of is going to have to work with big tech that we should all be leery of, and we should just be paying some attention to it. So let's put a pin in that and come back to the real world right now, which is that what we should all be lined up against right now, most obviously, and it's why yesterday I kept saying on the show, it's a damn shame that so many of these kind of woke right podcasters are constantly attacking Trump. It's like we should, whatever our differences are, we should be lined up, because what we still need to do is defeat the communists and the woke and the gender jihadists and the rest of it. And I believe that we will. It's just going to take a little extra work because we're fighting amongst ourselves. But as you know, this guy, James Talarico, beat Lady Eyelashes, Jasmine Crockett, as Democrat nominee to be senator from Texas. Hopefully he will not win in the general election. But then, after he got the win, suddenly everyone was showing his old tweets and he's ashamed about his whiteness and God has a penis and a vagina and all of this stuff. He got asked about some of his old comments yesterday.
So we've got white skin gives me and every white American immunity from the virus, but we spread it wherever we go through our words, our actions, and our systems. We don't have to be showing symptoms like a white hood or a Confederate flag to be contagious. That's one from 2020.
I, of course, looking back at some of these old statements from years ago, would maybe word them differently or communicate them differently, but the values that I hold are still the same.
Values that white people are inherently evil, I still hold those, but maybe I would have slightly put an extra comma in or a, ... Completely absurd and disqualifying. And these are the types of people that should have nothing to do with government or public service or anything else. And that's where we should be all of us aiming our ideological fire, is that these people should not be in government. They certainly shouldn't. You want to go be senator from Vermont, go replace Bernie. Right? Like, you want to do that, fine, but not from Texas, not from Texas. But of course, it's not just Texas that is having some problems. A lot of our countries, or a lot of our states are having problems. They're probably going to end up being their own countries. We haven't talked about this guy in a couple of weeks. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson. This guy is just an old-fashioned racist who is probably breaking so many laws it's ridiculous, but nobody goes after him. He keeps saying that the government of Chicago is going to hire people based on the color of their skin. Here they are. Black firefighters, congratulations, you're getting it. And Whitey, stay home.
And what I have done is I'm working with our HR, because that's where hiring rests, as we work to recruit more and more people to become firefighters, and particularly young Black folks. To your specific question, I've made a commitment to the entire department that I would continue to use my platform to encourage more Black young people to go into this profession, and also ensuring that our HR.
That's racism. Nobody cares when your house is burning down. Excuse me, before you run into my house with the water and everything and save my wife and the cat and the kid, how many Black people? You've got 10 firefighters over here. Wait a minute, you only have 2 Black people? 8 white people? Oh, 7 white people and 1 Asian guy? Sorry, that's not going to cut it. It's completely absurd. It's against everything that America stands for. And whether he's going to put it into writing, into law, like you want to go to, here's what wouldn't be illegal or wouldn't be morally bankrupt. If you want to go into inner city schools in Chicago and say, boy, there's a lot of problems here, and a lot of you are getting caught up in drugs and shooting and all sorts of things. One thing you could do is become a firefighter. Not talk to them because of their race, but say you could become a firefighter. And if you're a firefighter for X amount of years, you can make this much money, you could retire at this age, blah, 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 blah. That would be just fine. But once you say to the fire department itself, we are going to make sure that we have more of this type of person, it is automatically discriminatory against that type of person. That's how it works. Although that's not quite as crazy as New York City, where the communist jihadist mayor is very excited because they've got their first LGBTQAI plus affairs office person, and here they are together.
Today we are not only founding our city's first office for LGBTQIA plus affairs, we are also appointing our first director. This day was a long time coming. It took years of activism from community leaders who recognized how often queer New Yorkers fall through the cracks while attempting to access our city's social services.
Why did you laugh at queer New Yorkers fall through the cracks? Something funny about that. There's something funny about that. Maybe screenshot or just go back. So just to be clear, the lady
Today we are not only
that appears in the black dress there, that is biologically a man. Look, I know nothing about this person, and I'm actually not going to make fun of them or anything else. If that person, as an adult, decided to live a different way and change what their outward appearance is, and if they're happy and functional and all of those things, more power to you. That's just fine. But the absurdity that in 2026 we need an LGBTQAI plus two-spirit, whatever, furry office, and that gays are falling through the cracks, whatever. I mean, there is something funny about that. Like, it's just completely absurd. But why is it really absurd? It's absurd because let's not forget, 2 weeks ago, Moron Zamboni spoke at a mosque. He spoke in English, and then moments later, the imam got up there and he said this in Arabic. Da, 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 and the killing of the infidels by your sword. How do you think it's going to go for that chick? She might have chopped off her wang, but they're going to come for your head next. That's how it's going to be. But the woke thing has infected everything. I don't know that I saw one freaking movie this year. Did any of you go to the movies once this entire year? What year did I saw Downton Abbey in the theater? No, I didn't. I saw it at home. Did anyone go to the movies once this year? Yeah. Anyone? Mm-hmm. What'd you see?
I actually forgot.
You can't remember. Did you go to the movie?
Oh, Melania.
You saw the Melania movie in the theater. That's perfect. I assure you it didn't win any Oscars. Did you go to the movie once this year? You saw a scary movie, you can't remember what it was, and you did not go to the movies once this year. I did not go to the movies once this year. What a tragedy. COVID really, but it was everything, and how political Hollywood's become. They've just ruined everything. Anyway, the Oscars were the other night, and here's Spanish actor Javier Bardem, and he's so edgy, he talked about Palestine. I can't believe it.
No to war and free Palestine.
I love it. All the gays of Hollywood applauding Palestine where they'd all be killed. Bunch of morons. But instead, Javier, instead of doing the no to war, okay, thank you. That's a very thoughtful argument, and free Palestine. Okay, kill those 10 million Jews. That's fine. How about you could have done it this way? You remember this, Golden Globes, Ricky Gervais a couple of years ago.
If ISIS started a streaming service, you'd call your agent, wouldn't you? So if you do win an award tonight, don't use it as a platform to make a political speech, right? You're in no position to lecture the public about anything. You know nothing about the real world. Most of you spent less time in school than Greta Thunberg. So, if you win, right, come up, accept your little award, thank your agent and your God, and
Except their agent is their God. However, but that's, of course, like, just stop with all of this. The reason we're all tuning out is because we've just had it with all of this garbage. And I don't know, I can't, off the top of my head, I can't think of any movie that Javier Bardem was in. Was he in anything that I've seen that I might know? I don't know, whatever. It's just like, but I wouldn't want to see a movie with you in it. It's sort of why, even though I'm kind of over all the Marvel movies, every time I see Mark Ruffalo, I want to puke. What was Bardem in? Oh, he was in Dune, which I tried to watch. Dune, I'm a sci-fi guy. Dune inspired Star Wars. I tried to watch it, I kid you not, 15 times, and I could not make it through the first hour. It's slow and boring. I'm sorry. It is. Yes, I know, he had something up his nose and he was complaining about something. Yeah, I saw it. However, I will give credit where credit is due. There's a girl by the name of Jessie Buckley who accepted an award for something. I don't know what she was in or what she award. She was Best Actress. Well, good for her. I don't know what movie it was, but I thought here she just had a nice moment. So, you know, if I'm going to smack these people around, I'll at least offer up a nice moment to balance it out.
You, Fred, I love you, man. I love you. You're the most incredible dad. You're my best friend, and I want to have 20,000 more babies with you. I do. I do. And Isla, my little girl who is 8 months, who has absolutely no idea what's going on and is probably dreaming of milk. But this is kind of a big deal. And I love you and I love being your mom and I can't wait to discover life beside you. Chloe and Maggie, to get to know this incandescent woman and journey to understand the capacity of a mother's love is the greatest collision of my life. It's Mother's Day in the UK today.
Yeah, pretty good, like talking about being a mother, talking about how she wants to bang her husband. People are into that kind of stuff. Like grow a family, honor her own mother, like all of that is good. You know, interestingly, if you notice when they flashed to the crowd there, when they showed one of those women, Steven Spielberg was sitting right behind one of those women. Imagine Steven Spielberg with the incredible career that man has had, like made more great movies than probably anyone in Hollywood history, to have to sit in a room in an industry that he built as these clowns, these ridiculous LARPing revolutionaries applaud free Palestine. The guy who did Schindler's List, right? Like, it's so profoundly disgusting. So how do we end today's show? Well, it shouldn't be the navel-gazing of Hollywood. What it should be about, life, is that you should take the reins of your own life. You should look outside of yourself, and you might find something good. This is from I think we've shown you this once or twice, a portion of this, but this is from what I think is Jordan Peterson's single best speech ever. I was honored to be in the room for it. It was during the ARC conference in London in 2023. Take a look.
That's what's happening to the young people that we see who are adrift. They're taught to be nothing but self-conscious, to do nothing but think about their immediate needs, to refer to themselves as the locus of all things, and there's nothing you could do that would make them more miserable. It's identical with the instruction in misery. And you want to be outside yourself, serving a higher purpose, and maybe you're cynical about that, but you can think about it technically. Well, why do you bring a fork to the table? Well, so that you can put a plate beside it. And why do you put a plate at the table? And it's so that you can set the table to serve your family, to share food, to bring together the people you love in something approximating harmony as a microcosm of the entire cosmic order. And you can replicate that at every level of complexity, all the way up to what's at the pinnacle. And that's all real. And so is what's at the pinnacle. And we've forgotten all of that. And as a consequence of forgetting that, we've forgotten the responsibility that we need to bear in our life to make our lives bearable. And we've forgotten the meaning and the adventure and the purpose and the significance and the earned self-regard that goes along with that sacrificial attitude. And we've forgotten to tell our children the same thing. And we could remember who we are. We could remember who we are. And that's what this conference was for, to remind people, everyone who attends, who you are, right? You're the
I got to tell you guys, I've done, I think it was, we did 120 shows, Jordan and I, for that year and a half when we were on tour together. I've done a million appearances with him in all sorts of different venues. I was with him on and off throughout the days of that conference. That was the single best speech I've ever seen him give. We have the full speeches on our channel, which we are going to link to in the description if you want to watch the full thing. It is absolutely incredible. And I'll also tell you something, a little insider baseball on that. Jordan's running around doing a conference. He's doing media the entire time. He's doing all of these shows. He's pulled in a million different directions. He's having dinners, sitting down with donors, or whatever it might be. Just did not have a second, right? And then he gets up there and he gives that speech. There's no teleprompter there. There is no teleprompter. There are no notes on the floor or anything else. That is someone at the pinnacle of their game, being the best that they can be, to explain to people how they can be the best they can be. And we could use a little more of that. And by the way, we're going to need a little more of that, to connect this to everything we've done on the show today. Politics, world affairs, little crazy, but Trump is trying to order them to the best of his ability. AI stuff, we are on this freaking horizon that is going to change the world in ways we don't know. So it might be important. It might be incumbent upon us to be the best we could be. That would be pretty good, right? And then how did we end the show before that? Well, we still got all the wacky lefties to deal with. And what's the best way to confront them? Well, yeah, we can mock them and we can expose them and all that. But perhaps it's bettering ourselves that actually is the ultimate antidote. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is our program. We got a post-game show coming up in 30 seconds. RubinReport.locals.com. See you tomorrow.